'cause in the end we can make it all right.
All right, if you're watching on the AFA channel, shot of Times Square there, Calvin McCullough, glad you're with us from the belly of the news beast in Lower Manhattan. As always, we are keeping our eye on what's going on here in the middle of your day on AFA Today on AFR Talk. Kevin McCullough is my name, and my phone number is 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Well, here's part of what we're going to talk about today. I have now seen not one but two major front page stories that are talking about something called the Affordable Care Act. And the human drama attached to this speaks louder than anything else that we can talk about, in my opinion. When you're talking about real life and how real people have been impacted by the real circumstances, you begin to see something that takes on a different look. The Las Vegas Review-Journal, that's a newspaper, reported that Larry Basic, a 62-year-old Vegas resident, has been stuck with a massive medical bill signing up for an insurance plan via the state exchange last fall. According to this article in the Las Vegas paper, Basic selected a United Healthcare plan in November. He paid his first premium. He never received confirmation that he was enrolled, despite being assured that he was by Nevada Health Link. Amid the confusion, Basic suffered a heart attack at the end of December and underwent a triple bypass surgery. Now, according to the Review-Journal, no insurer will claim his bills, and he's caught in a financially frightening battle as he appeals to the exchange and its contractor, Xerox, for help. Basic, who moved from Hawaii, told the newspaper, "All I wanted to do when I moved here was buy a house, get a dog, and go to some spring training games for the Dodgers." Xerox reportedly tried to assign Basic's bills to another insurance plan, but that plan is refusing to accept them. Basic's insurance broker also complained that Xerox is spending a lot of time lawyering up and documenting all of Basic's communications. Broker Tamar Birch told the paper, "I believe Xerox is covering themselves because of a huge system error." But Xerox reportedly said the company is trying to fix the problem. "Mr. Basic's issue is complex. We're working on it every day," a spokeswoman told the paper. This man has been stuck with $407,000 in medical bills, and he did everything as he was supposed to do. He signed up through the exchange. He paid his premium. He believed he was on. He believed he was on the plan. There's all these elements that he followed the law to the jot and tittle. And when he did, he is no better off right now than he was on the old insurance that he had prior to all this mess getting started. Now, last night, and I don't have the clip of this, but last night on the O'Reilly Factor, a colleague of mine at Fox News, Juan Williams, was on with Mr. O'Reilly, and they were talking about the story that we brought to you last week here on this broadcast. And it was the story about the hardship exemption being discovered, having been put into the law in December of last year as part of some of the rewriting of some of the stuff that they did. And so Bill O'Reilly last night was making the point that I was making last week, that what you had here was in essence the death of Obamacare, because if anyone can get a hardship exemption, then no one will get penalized, and the penalty is where they are planning on making the money to keep the thing afloat. That and the enrollees of everyone in the nation, which not everyone is signing up. So you have all of these complications in this problem, but O'Reilly's laying this out 1, 2, 3, 4, very, very simple, connects all the dots. Juan Williams says, O'Reilly, you're just getting this information from the right-wing blogs, and it's not true, and none of it's. But he didn't offer any substance as to how to dispute it. I think that all you're going to have to see is 3 or 4 of the stories like what Mr. Basic is going through on the front pages of newspapers, and people are going to wonder why they even tried to begin with. I said this on this show last week. It doesn't make any sense to me that we ruined 1/6 of the private economy. We said far beyond our expectations. We are going to force companies to change their policies so that they come in line with this law that provides, for example, requires coverage for an elderly couple to obtain pediatric dental care. Now, an elderly couple ain't going to have any more kids. Maybe they're going to adopt someone in some, strange fashion. But do couples that have no desire to have kids once they're in the elderly category, should they be required to obtain a policy at the price that it will cost to offer pediatric dental care for a child that they're never going to have? That's the insanity of what the Affordable Care Act requirements to the insurance companies turned out. Oh, Kevin McCullough, male, may someday need an abortion for himself. So we got to offer, strategies that allow coverage for such things. Well, then you saw millions and millions and millions of individual policies. Our family was affected by this. Have their policy discontinued. We get a little letter in the mail. It says, this policy does not provide the appropriate coverages in keeping with the Affordable Care Act. Therefore, this policy is no longer legal. And now here's the new policy that costs $800 a month more, and you have to deal with that. Okay, so we didn't have a lot of options. We got ankle biters under the age of 4. We got to do what we got to do. But a lot of people are just going to say, you know what? It's not worth it. I'll just risk staying healthy for a while and go from there. Now it's interesting to see, and it's not just one story that I saw over the weekend and in the last 24 hours. There's about a half dozen of the stories like Larry Basics from Nevada, where you have someone that has done everything exactly the way the website told them to do it, and at the end of the day, they paid their premium, and they still are choking at a $407,000 medical bill when they were under the impression it's all taken care of. 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. I'm always interested in hearing from you. But this is going to, and if Juan Williams, and this was what I was thinking when I was listening to the interview this morning, if Juan Williams is actually going to go around and tell people that if we tell them the truth, that the hardship exemption will basically allow an exemption for more than 99% of everyone in the country. If that's what they're going to, if he's going to tell us in response to that, you're living in fantasy land, that's not what it says. If that's the defense that the left is going to put towards this policy, if the best they can come up with is, who are you going to believe, your lying eyes? Because it's there in black and white. And it's there in large measure because the requirement to have people conform to it was such a failure on its face that the IRS, in order to actually enforce it, was going to have to be so punitive to so many people. It was just going to be extremely more unpopular than it is now. The problem now is you have actual real-life stories of people that did everything right. They're getting put on the front page of the newspaper. They're being shown that they're still going to owe hundreds of thousands of dollars after doing everything the way they were told. It should be repealed. It should be repealed. Mike Lee and Ted Cruz were correct in Washington, D.C. Obamacare needs to go off the books altogether, even if it's essentially dead from an operational standpoint. It needs to go off the books altogether. And you start the issue of health care reform all over again. And hopefully this time you don't decimate an entire private industry that actually was working very, very well for the vast majority of Americans. 888-589-8840. Perhaps you have a differing opinion. We'll always chat with you. But someone wants to jump on the Russia-Ukraine discussion I started the broadcast with. Let's go to Mississippi and speak with Buster. Hi, Buster.
Hey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for being here.
Now, you said you were in the heart of the beast. I have spent most of my adult life in the heart of AFR and AFA country in Tupelo, Mississippi.
Very good. How can we be of assistance today?
Yeah, you were talking, of course, the Affordable Care Act. You know, it was based on lies, so it doesn't surprise me now that one would not want to agree with true facts. But really what I was calling about was a topic you were on a little while ago about Russia.
Right, the Russia-Ukraine deal.
You know, I guess I've got a different perspective on it a little bit. You know, why should America have anything to do with it? You're right. Certainly, I think he promised them $1 billion in aid that we don't have. We're going to have to borrow it to go give them the billion. But, you know, we've invaded Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, and have CIA agents working currently on the ground in Syria. So I don't understand that we have the moral ground to talk to anybody about any other issues as far as invading countries or whatever. Of course, this one a shot fired in this, and we probably killed, what do you think? Conservative estimate, 300,000 to 1 million people in the last.
Yeah, you're using numbers that are all coming from leftist websites. But let me put it this way:
how many do you think we've killed?
I'm not sure. I haven't studied that carefully, but I've seen vast differences in the numbers.
Well, that's why I said 300 to 1 million, 300,000 to me. It's a lot of.
But let me ask you this: of those countries, those 4 countries that you listed off there, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, and Syria, how many of those countries did we annex?
Well, we didn't annex any of them that I know of. But
right. How many of them did we? How many of them did we occupy and turn into America?
Well, we're still in Afghanistan and Iraq. So.
And did we turn them into America?
I think we tried, but we certainly have not been able to, and I'm not sure they're even better off.
Really? You're aware of some effort to actually turn them into portions of America? We drew up documents to.
Well, you're twisting what I'm saying, but I'm saying we try to turn them into our type of society. I guess my question.
Well, I don't know what our type of society means. If what you mean by that is that giving personal choice and liberty to 50 million who are living under oppression is somehow an immoral thing, you and I are going to disagree on that. If you're going to try to say that our actions in Iraq and Afghanistan were completely unprovoked and had no rational root in reality, I'm going to disagree with that. If you're going to say that what we did in those 2 places is in any way the same thing as what Putin did in Crimea, I'm going to disagree with that. But other than that, I don't think we disagree on much.
No, we're going to have to disagree on some of those things. But certainly, you said you had ankle bikers at home, and of course my daughters are in their 20s now. But I would never want my daughters or your children, frankly, to have died in any of those 4 countries that we just named.
Well, and that's totally you're right. I mean, I don't begrudge you that, Buster. But I've people that have been killed in those theaters. I have spoken with families and sat on the edge of beds of people that lost loved ones that did die in those. And I will guarantee you, of the people that I've spoken to, not a one of them saw that loss of life. Yes, did they see it tragic? Yes. Did they see it as anything other than another example of one more patriot that fought valiantly defending the freedoms of America? They didn't. That was how they viewed it. So and I get that different people want to, they really want to bludgeon. I guess it's still Bush's fault somehow that Putin just annexed Crimea or something. I'm not exactly sure how that all works, but all I know is that our response to Crimea, we didn't even blink. We just okay, we're going to put in some sanctions, and the Kremlin just melted from laughter. And then the next thing that happened was Kerry showed up with a checkbook and said, "How much can we write it for?" And I'm not. I'm not against being involved where we need to be involved. But Ukraine's not even a trading partner to the U.S. They are to Russia, and yeah, they've got some tough conversations to have about what's going to happen. And no, I don't want to see a sovereign nation overthrown or another Cold War started. But I don't know that we needed to send $1 billion to the Ukraine. I mean, it's just my own thoughts on it. A couple of other people wanted to weigh in on this too, and then I'm going to get to some calls on the insurance issue as well. So don't go away. Brett in Arkansas. Brett, you're next. Thanks for being here. You're on with Kevin McCullough.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Sure thing.
Yeah, I'm kind of confused actually with this whole Ukraine thing, because I guess I come from the standpoint I'm really not a fan of what our current administration has done in Libya and in Egypt, and I don't think that they really have a clue. Well, I do think they have a clue, but they've gone around supporting people that I would not support, and he almost got us in trouble with Syria. And the strange thing is Putin actually is the one that came and settled that whole thing down. And I'm really confused here, because it didn't surprise me the Crimeans voted for stability. I think they saw stability with Russia, and they saw instability with what's going on in the Ukraine. So
Yeah, I don't know, Brett, that I would come to the same conclusions that you did about some of those things. But we can talk about it. 888-589-8840. We're also talking about the Obamacare mess. We'll take your calls as we continue on AFA Today on AFR Talk. I'm Kevin McCullough. Thanks for being here.